The new social web is based around the ability to easily share interesting articles and other content with your friends across multiple platforms. To make it as easy as possible for your readers to share your stories with the world, WordPress.com offers the ability to add simple share buttons to your posts and pages. Adding these sharing buttons is done in the dashboard under Settings and Sharing. Directly under Publicize, you have the sharing buttons, and this is where you configure what sharing buttons you're going to use and how they appear. By default, you have Press This, Twitter, and Facebook, but you can change this into any other configuration you want. This window consists of 4 areas. You have all the available services at the top, then you have the enabled services, and within the enabled services, you have a box that allows you to make a drop-down list of services you don't want to display prominently. And then at the bottom, you have a live preview that'll show what these buttons are going to look like. So let's say we want to add a Pinterest button and a Google Plus button to our list, and then reorganize this order. So I want Twitter first, and then Facebook, and then Google Plus, and then Pinterest, and then I don't want pressed lists anymore. Now I have these 4 buttons, and you can see them down here, the Twitter, Facebook, G+, and Pinterest. And then I want to add email and print into this More button on the side. And I'll add Press This there as well. And you can see the More button appears on the side here, and when I hover over it, you see Email, Print, and Press This. So now we know roughly how these buttons look. But as you know, some of these buttons can be interactive. You can already see it with the G+ button. It shows how many people have actually +1'd this article. But you can do the same with Twitter and Facebook as well. To change these buttons, you have to go in here under the button style, and instead of having icon plus text, go click Official Buttons. And then you get the official buttons from these services. So as you can see, we now have the tweet button with a counter. We have the interactive like button, which changes depending on whether or not you're logged in and how many other people have liked it and a bunch of other factors. It even translates into other languages. And you have the pin it button, which is very new, that does the same thing as the tweet and like button. They count. After the button style, you can change the sharing label. As you can see, the default says share this, but you can change it to something else. Share the love, or the link love, or something like that. Or you can put in nothing, and then you just won't have a heading on it. Below that, you have the option of deciding where links are going to be opened. This doesn't really happen with tweets, likes, and G+, but it happens with the other services. I suggest you set it to New Window so that you open a separate window for the sharing, and then when you close that window, you end up back on the site. And finally, you can decide where you want to show the buttons. By default, they're showed on posts and pages, but you can also activate it for the front page if you want to. The media page is less important. I generally like to have my sharing buttons only on posts and pages, or in many cases only on posts. I don't like them on the archive pages because you see them repeated so often it doesn't look very nice. And of course, at the very, very bottom, you have the WordPress.com like button, which is a separate entity. Once I've made all these changes, I have a button row I like, I've configured it in the way I want it to, I'll save changes, and then I'll right-click on Samoka here to open the site, and you'll see on the front page there are no sharing buttons, but when I go to a single post, the sharing buttons appear here. Now you notice something important. This looks weird, to put it lightly. That's because these buttons, the official ones, are actually little holes that have been cut into my site that show buttons that live elsewhere. And because these buttons change shape and size all the time, the size of the button is assumed to be much bigger than it needs to be because there has to be room for all that other content. So it doesn't look very nice, and in many cases you want a little bit more stylistic control, in which case you can go back to sharing settings, change the button style to icon only, for example, or icon plus text. Save the changes, reload your page, and you'll see a much nicer layout. Enabling your readers to easily share your posts with their friends through social networks and even email is a great way to add usability to your site and get new readers at the same time. The built-in sharing feature in WordPress makes it easy to add the most common social networks, including Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest, as buttons on your site, so people have an easy time sharing your content with their friends on their social networks.